take a look at the legal ramifications of the Speaker's plight tonight. Actually, we're talking about the former Speaker, Gordon Fox, because he's no longer the Speaker. We had the new Speaker of the House, Nick Mattiello, on our broadcast last night. And if you missed that show, you should go to WPRI.com and click on the More button, and down comes Dan York's State of Mind, amongst other programs. Click it on, and you can see every show that you may have missed online at WPRI.com. Thanks for tuning in to my State of Mind. I am Dan York. It is an honor and pleasure to have you aboard. We got some reaction, of course, to Nick Mattiello's appearance here last evening. And some folks want me to be softer. I think there's a lot of people who have been too soft with our elected officials. It's about time we got some answers, and if we have to be aggressive in getting them, then that's the case. Now, I wonder how aggressive the authorities are going to be with Gordon Fox. Seems to me that they showed some aggression the other night. I'm interested to what Lou Pulner has to say. He's the Channel 12 and WPRO legal analyst, and he is my guest this evening, so we'll kind of bang around some concepts with Lou in just a couple of minutes. But first, let's get to our rundown this evening. This is a little bit of new news for David Cicilline. Might be a headache, may not be. This is a kind of a slow start. Heavens to Betsy. This is kind of interesting. The human condition is such that people wait to the end, and we'll see whether or not the count is where everybody expects it to be as we kind of calculate what the health care rollout has been here in Rhode Island. What else do we have here for this evening? Too much protection. I'll tell you why. And sometimes it happens. You know, business marriages break up, and this is kind of cool. That would be your Red Sox at the White House. And a selfie? Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's get to it tonight. Headache for the congressman, I say. David Cicilline was on Newsmakers this past weekend. We didn't get to it yesterday because we had a different kind of rundown with the House Speaker being here. But I thought Tim White asked some really good questions of Congressman Cicilline, and I get a kick over the idea that in reaction to the Gordon Fox episode, where the Speaker of the House has had to leave his job because of raids on his work office on the 3rd floor of Smith Hill and his home. It's a sad moment. Sad, very sad.
We don't know what the investigation is about, and I think it would be unfair and unwise to speculate on it. They will go through their normal course of investigating it, and they'll disclose it when they think it's appropriate, and I think it's unwise to speculate or guess. I think it's very sad for our state, obviously sad for Gordon's family. I've always known him to be a serious legislator, but this is obviously a very, very sad set of circumstances.
You know, don't you love this sad thing? Oh, sad, Nick Mattiello, sad. It's all so sad. I'm mad. As a constituent, I'm mad that the state of Rhode Island has yet a corruption story to deal with. But I guess amongst the whole boys club, it's all about being sad. Well, you know what? David Cicilline might be sadder to find out. Look at this headline. Laughlin considering congressional run against Cicilline. That was first broken at 6:30, WPRO.com, and on the air at WPRO. That is John Laughlin. John told me earlier today that he is seriously considering running against David Cicilline. Remember, John ran against Cicilline back in 2010 and lost by 6 points. Now, I always think that 6 points is where the race really begins. In other words, you have to work really, 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 really hard to qualify to get into that 6-point rub. But 6 points is 6 points. 6 points is a lot less a defeat than Brendan Doherty had in 2012 with David Cicilline. Now we've got in all due respect to Brendan, who had a 15-point pollable lead, but the campaign just wasn't good enough to hold on. And it was a presidential year, right? And you had that whole swing of blue state momentum that gave Doherty a fit. Well, this is an off-presidential election year. Now, granted, Laughlin's starting a little late in his second time around, should he go. And he's got a quick check to see if he's got $1 million or $2 million that he can find somewhere to make a formidable race. But David Cicilline ain't laughing at the idea that John Laughlin could be his competitor. Laughlin out-debated Cicilline at times in the 2010 election. He out-hustled him at times. I will tell you, nobody worked harder on the street than John Laughlin. And Laughlin, while he has a lot of sore egos and relationships to repair because of the way he got out in 2012, he intended to run. He and Doherty were going to have a primary. John went to Iraq to serve our country for 8 months, came back and didn't handle the decision not to run very well. However, those relationships can be mended. And I think it's kind of a breath of fresh air if Laughlin runs, don't you think? You could have a semi-serious GOP candidate running for 1st District Congress. The district is a little bit gerrymandered, and it's a little bit more difficult in 2014, but he's a serious candidate. You could have a very serious candidate, an Attorney General candidate, now State Senator Dawson Hodgson, running for Peter Kilmartin's incumbent seat. I think the momentum of a gubernatorial primary between Ken Block and Alan Fung will return a little bit of a Republican pizzazz to the general election race. There could be, by osmosis, and one candidate tries, some momentum for the Republicans this time around. Hey, you guys are always saying you need a two-party state. Well, this might help. Anyway, interesting stuff. And I would think David's taking at least one Excedrin over this. All right, next item. Providence Mayoral Forum. I guess only about like 100 people showed up at a local church. We got a picture from WPRI.com. Dan McGowan, one of our news reporters online, more or less suggested that there wasn't much going on. They didn't even let Chris Young in. If you're going to have these kinds of forums, let Chris Young in, the perennial candidate. For heaven's sakes, he got almost 30% in a former mayoral election. But these guys are talking about complaining about the old boy network, and we're going to put money into the schools. No big ideas. And you know who salivates over watching this very slow start to a Providence mayoral race? The former mayor. Not Cicilline and not Taveras. Taveras is the current mayor. You know who I'm talking about. His name starts with Buddy. You guys better pizzazz it up. I'm telling you. Let's go. Next item. Enrollment deadline passes. Yeah, I'm always intrigued over the idea that people wait to the last minute to do everything. I can be kind of like that, sort of, but I guess there was a major rush in America to get in. Why, if people need health insurance? If you need health insurance, why are you waiting to the last minute to sign up for it? It's weird. It's not like you're sending your tax money in. I mean, you're signing up. I don't know. The deadline thing is a very strange human condition situation. Christine Ferguson, who runs the healthcare exchange known as healthsourceri.com, made comment on it yesterday before the deadline expired.
Monday, 11:59, complete your applications. For small businesses, that's not the case. Small businesses enroll all year long, depending on what their renewal date is.
It'll be interesting to see whether or not everybody who signs up is happy about having signed up both by price and by performance. There still are hundreds and hundreds of people who, prior to the deadline, on our own Rhode Island high-performing health exchange, who have had problems keeping their coverage intact. So we'll see. Christine Ferguson will be a guest on our program in the next couple of weeks, hopefully, to talk about how that whole thing is rolling out. It's all Obamacare, Our next item here, this is just, the Officers' Bill of Rights, I understand why we have it, but sometimes it's just too much. What do we have here? We've got a headline on the WPRI.com website. Target 12, officer admits texting and drinking before crash. I would ask you to go to the website at WPRI.com and see, if you hadn't seen it last night on television, Walputo's Target 12 report. I don't have time to play it because it's lengthy, but I'll follow up on this. Seems you had an officer who was who drove across the yellow lines and had a head-on with a regular old innocent driver coming the other way. Thank God she wasn't hurt. But the original incident report showed no real problem, and then a follow-up showed that he may have been drinking and texting, and then there's a discussion of him leaving the job. But a lot of this is, and maybe there was a sergeant involved, and in terms of changing the police report. This is all what I'm gathering. But here's my bottom line on this: we have too much protection for the individual personal behavior of police officers. I understand the Bill of Rights protections for things they do formally and on the job, but not when they're off the job. But we'll follow up on this because this is a big one, and we've got more time over the next couple of days, I'm certain. What else do we have for the evening? This is tomorrow. Giovanni Ferrocci will be my guest. Here was the headline in the Providence Journal today: tensions over expansion. sometimes marriages end up in divorce, and sometimes business partners find that same end too, but not before they grow the business exponentially like they did at Alex and Nani. What was a $4 or $5 million gross business ended up being $200+ million under his CEO-ship. He's a provocative guy, no doubt about it, but he will be here tomorrow night to talk about the breakup. It'll be an interesting conversation, so make an appointment. And maybe we'll get Carol Rafalian to talk to us too. I think we should be proud of that company and what it's done and all the hires and all the attention it's brought to Rhode Island. Hopefully this breakup will be a soothing and smooth one for everybody's best interest. And finally, very nice. The Sox were at the White House, big party on, Garth with the president and everything else. And of course, there's Big Papi, always the star of the show. And he took a selfie, didn't he? Yeah, well, come on, man. Come on. But it's nice to have an opening day. You know, the Sox opened in Baltimore. They got beat. But this morning they were at the White House. And it's just nice to have springing, isn't it? Phenomenal. When we come back, our legal analyst, Lou Pulner, will talk to us about his thoughts on this Gordon Fox stuff and more. Stay with us. Welcome back in. Of course, we'll repeat our triple headline to remind you of what we've been dealing with when it comes to Speaker Fox and his situation. That was the first story, oh my gosh, 2 Fridays ago when the office was raided, his home too, as we can see there. Oh, there were 2 places at once, the feds and the IRS and the state police, although the state police didn't show up at his house. That was interesting. And then, of course, it resulted in this, resigning as House Speaker. So, you know, I thought I'd invite Lou Pulner in to kind of shoot the breeze on what this means. Good to see you.
Great to be here, Dan.
Legal analyst for Channel 12 and WPRO for so many years. What was your gut over all this when you saw this come down?
At first, I thought it was, you know, a matter of fraud. I mean, he's been receiving monies. He got slapped by the Ethics Commission. What was he fined? $15,000, I believe. $1,500. That was the most recent one, and that was because he didn't declare monies that he had received from the Providence Development Agency. So
didn't declare them to the state to the State Ethics Commission as part of his filings. I'm not sure what his IRS implications are.
And that's why I think the IRS was there, because if they show up at the door along with the FBI and with the state police, I got to believe that they'd already gone through his tax returns and it probably wasn't declared. And if that's so, you know, that's a jackpot for him with the IRS and the feds right off the bat, let alone what else they may be looking for, and probably up the food chain.
A lot of theories abounding. Everyone wants to know, what's your take on the pace of play when it comes to the prosecutors and the investigators, and how quickly they will move through this case and make a public comment about what the heck they were doing there?
It's interesting because, as you know, the affidavits that they filed in order to be able to get the search warrant from the judge, that's sealed. So I don't know if it's necessarily a fishing expedition, because I don't think any judge would sign a warrant for a fishing expedition, especially when we're talking about the Speaker of the House of the State of Rhode Island at his offices on...
Yeah, you put on a show like that, you mean business.
You mean serious business. So, but we all know that the feds do their due diligence, and they're not going to be bringing any type of a charge until it's already locked and sealed. That's the way they work, and you know that.
Which could be a while.
Could be a while.
Weeks, months.
But you know, you find some information at his office or at his home, and that begets the need to find more information and more search warrants of other people who may be involved. I just don't believe that it's Speaker Fox alone that they're looking at under these circumstances.
Because?
Because let's keep in mind that he did get paid by the City of Providence through that development corporation. And if he, like I said, if he didn't declare it, then it goes back to, well, who actually wrote the checks out to him, and did that person declare that he had made payments to Gordon Fox?
Here's something that House Speaker Nick Mattiello said on our program last night, maybe hoping that it has nothing to do with governmental behavior. Let's see if we can see that, Laura. We haven't even heard why he went out. It's not going to be yesterday's news. And you're going to have to take a tone that sets the right kind of tone of discontent with what's happened here, because even you, I'm sure, don't know what happened, correct? You have no idea why he's charged.
I have no idea.
All
So
right.
I would suspect it has nothing to do with governmental business.
He would suspect it has nothing to do with governmental business.
Well, what else is he going to say? I mean,
Why would the feds and the IRS and the state police show up at the third floor ornate House Speaker's office if it had nothing to do with governmental business?
Because maybe that's where he kept his records, especially if they're looking into election, not election fraud, but tax fraud. Maybe he keeps his tax returns and his personal records there in the office at the State House. Just one question begets another. I mean, it's a fascinating probe that they're doing, and you're right. They made no bones about being quiet. I mean, they locked him out of his office, state police standing guard. I think there's a lot to this, because if it wasn't just a minor matter, I think the state police could have handled it just fine.
All right. So what do you do when you're jammed up like this? Not that you have to worry about it necessarily, or I, but what do you do when you call your lawyer and say, stay with us?
Man.
I believe that in the near future, the depositions are probably going to be unsealed, and because there's an open records request for them. Let's see what the depositions disclose, and then we'll take it from there.
That's Nick Maniello, the Speaker of the House. Lou Pulner is our guest, legal analyst for Channel 12 and WPRO. That was part of a conversation I was having with the Speaker yesterday, where he just didn't seem to want to understand the perspective that I offer, which I think is echoed by so many, which is that the House of Representatives is so overdue in policing itself and being transparent about its operation. That stealth vote on that ill-fated, warm June night in 2010, when they voted for $125 million loan guarantee, 75 which was parked for Curt Schilling, and only a couple of people like Gordon Fox knew. They haven't done a thing to check themselves at the door. Lou's not just legal; he's political in terms of his. You've got thoughts. Do you have any thoughts about that too?
Well, first of all, I think they're obviously protecting their own. It's probably not just Speaker Fox, but could reach out to the governor and people in the other chamber. There's a lot going on there, and I think it's a shame that the Oversight Committee didn't have subpoena powers. I don't know what the state's lawyers are doing, but I know that they're damn good at what they do. So, and they have subpoena powers because it's a lawsuit. So it'll be interesting when they do open those files up in the depositions, and we get a chance to see them.
I'm just not sure that the charge of the Chafee administration and the lawsuit, remember folks, the lawsuit is filed by the Chafee administration against Curt Schilling et al., and some pretty provocative litigation there, going after former employees of the EDC,
They're
Keith
going
Stokes.
after Keith Stokes. He's the former chair of the
Yeah,
commission.
which sent, I think, kind of a weird message. But the idea that they're waiting for depositions to be unsealed and the like, and the legislature's waiting on that, do you think that's the right thing to do?
No. I think that they want to be taking a more proactive approach to telling the people of the state of Rhode Island exactly what happened in that chamber when they made that vote, and why it happened. And we're just not getting that information again. They protect their own.
What's your guess about what Gordon Fox is doing? He's lawyered up with an out-of-town Boston lawyer, has been working with him as he's been reviewing documents, I guess, with the feds for a while. What's your best guess inside the legal community about the interactivity of Boston counsel, and whether that is synergistic with cooperation with others or whatever? And where's that whole thing roll out, do you think?
I mean, Boston lawyers, just like people go when their children have serious medical issues, for some reason they go to Boston hospitals. I don't know why. We have great facilities here in the state of Rhode Island. But same thing when it comes to lawyers. And I don't think an outside lawyer is going to carry much sway because they don't know the players. They don't know the way things work. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but they don't know the system of jurisprudence here in the state of Rhode Island.
Is it altogether different than it is just 40 miles to our north?
Well, when you're a different face, it's not like you get the warm, cordial greetings when you're sitting down with the U.S. attorney or you're sitting down with the colonel.
And Fox is a lawyer himself. So is Bill Murphy, the speaker prior. So is John Harwood, the speaker prior, et al. Difficult juggle to be your own lawyer and be the Speaker of the House? Seems for Gordon it was.
Apparently it was. And, I don't count his money, and I don't know how much he makes, but you have to know that he spends a ton of time up at the State House. And if you're spending a ton of time at the State House, that means you're not generating much in the way of legal fees, and that can put you in the jackpot.
Murphy and Harwood seem to do pretty good at it.
Yes, they. You're reeling me in. No, they.
I'm just saying they just did.
No,
right?
they did. They worked very hard and they're litigators. You know, Gordon does a lot of closings and he does a lot of
Different
paperwork.
kind of legal work.
Very much so. Bill Murphy and John Harwood are in the trench guys who have no qualms about, you know, going to trial.
So it's a little tough for Lou right now because none of us know anything substantially about this investigation yet. We'll be counting on you as we go. But what does your gut say about timetable for the public that's somewhat starving to know what the heck happened here?
I would imagine that within the next couple of months, or as soon as they're done gathering all of the documents that they need, I think we'll find that the affidavits will be unsealed and made available to the public. And once we get a look at that, I think it'll all come together. The pieces, the crimes alleged, and more importantly, other people who may have been assisting the government to save their own skins.
All right, good analysis. We'll have Lou back as this story proceeds. Your State of Mind when we come back. Stay with us. Always want to know what is on your mind, and you can tell us via Your State of Mind on the line at 228-1886. Leave us a voicemail and tell us what you're thinking. State of Mind at myritv.com is the email. And tweet and Facebook post at Dan York Show, YORKE. Here was an email as a result of last night's show. I thought you did a great job of putting Speaker Mattiello on notice that the people have expectations and hopes that positive change will come from his leadership, says Charlie. So, Charlie, thanks. Appreciate that. This is not about me. This is about getting answers for all of us, but some folks don't like how we go about trying to get the answers.
I watched you try to interview the Speaker, and I think you forgot you were trying to interview the guy. You sounded like a prosecutor instead.
Actually, George was not very happy. He left more. We didn't have time. But I'll tell you this. Sometimes our guests need to be prosecuted. Yeah, because the soft answers and the vague questions, or the soft questions and the vague answers, they don't help anybody. We'll see you tomorrow, noon on the radio on WPRO and here at 7:30 on MyRI TV. Good night.